The Ilkley Open has witnessed many unforgettable moments over the years. Grass court battles fought under cloudy Yorkshire skies, dramatic upsets that stunned spectators, and displays of tennis excellence that embodied the tradition of the British summer season. Yet nothing quite compared to the atmosphere that surrounded one particular afternoon when Alex Eala stepped onto the grounds as the tournament's top seed. Something about the moment felt different long before a single ball had been struck. Fans sensed it. Tournament staff noticed it. Even neutral spectators seemed drawn toward the court where the young Filipina star was scheduled to play. Fresh from one of the most important victories of her career, Eala arrived in Ilkley carrying the confidence of a champion. Only days earlier she had lifted the Birmingham Open trophy, capturing another prestigious title and proving that her game could thrive on grass courts. The victory had elevated her reputation throughout the tennis world. More importantly, it had strengthened her belief in herself. The doubts that had followed her through difficult stretches of the season seemed to be fading. In their place stood a player who was beginning to understand exactly how high her potential could take her. The Ilkley Open, a respected WTA 125 tournament nestled among the rolling hills of Yorkshire, suddenly became one of the most talked-about stops on the grass court calendar. Usually, the event attracted a loyal local audience and dedicated tennis followers who appreciated the sport's quieter traditions. This year was different. Philippine flags appeared throughout the venue. Fans traveled from cities across the United Kingdom to support their rising star. Overseas Filipino workers took trains from London, Manchester, Birmingham, and beyond. Some booked hotels at the last minute just for the chance to watch Eala compete in person. The effect was impossible to ignore. Wherever she went, people followed. Every practice session drew curious spectators. Every appearance generated excitement. The tournament organizers quickly realized that interest in Eala was growing faster than anyone had anticipated. She had become one of the main attractions of the entire event. Her opening round match did little to slow the growing hype. Facing Czech opponent Dominika Salkova, Eala delivered a commanding performance that reminded everyone why she had entered the tournament as the top seed. Her movement was sharp. Her timing was precise. Her confidence was unmistakable. She secured a convincing straight sets victory, barely allowing her opponent any opportunity to establish rhythm. But the second round carried a deeper storyline. Waiting on the other side of the net would be Switzerland's Valentina Reiser. Their history added an intriguing layer of drama. Earlier in the season, Reiser had defeated Eala in a match that many expected the Filipina to win. It was one of those losses that lingered in a player's memory because it felt avoidable. Eala had started strongly, appeared in control, and yet somehow watched the match slip away. For months that defeat remained in the back of her mind. Athletes often talk about learning from losses, but certain defeats create something more powerful. They create motivation. They become reminders of unfinished business. Every practice session, every improvement, every adjustment becomes part of a silent preparation for the day when another opportunity arrives. That opportunity had arrived in Ilkley. As match day approached, anticipation began building among fans. They wanted to see whether Eala could complete her revenge. They wanted to know if her recent success on grass courts would continue. Most of all, they wanted to witness whether the confidence she had shown in Birmingham could be sustained against an opponent who had previously beaten her. When the afternoon finally arrived, spectators filled Court 1 well before the scheduled start time. Philippine flags waved from different sections of the stands. Conversations buzzed with excitement. Cameras were ready. Phones were raised. Everyone was waiting. Then the tunnel entrance came into view. The pathway leading onto Court 1 was simple and narrow, surrounded by the historic atmosphere that makes British tennis venues so unique. Generations of players had walked through that same entrance. Yet when Alex Eala emerged, something immediately captured the crowd's attention. She wasn't rushing. She wasn't distracted. She wasn't displaying nervous energy. Instead, she moved with a calm confidence that seemed entirely natural. Her racket bag rested comfortably on her shoulder. Her posture was upright. Her eyes remained focused ahead. Every step appeared deliberate. For reasons many spectators struggled to explain, the atmosphere shifted. The crowd became quieter. Not because they were confused. Not because they were uncertain. Because they were watching. Eala's presence commanded attention in a way that statistics could never measure. It wasn't about celebrity. It wasn't about rankings. It wasn't even about the recent title she had won. It was something more subtle. She looked like a player who truly believed she belonged on the biggest stages in tennis. Some fans later described the moment on social media as unforgettable. Others compared her entrance to that of a champion returning home after a major triumph. Many focused on her composure. There was no sign of pressure. No indication that she was carrying the expectations of an entire nation. Instead, she looked comfortable. Comfortable with the spotlight. Comfortable with the attention. Comfortable with the responsibility. The confidence radiating from her seemed to spread throughout the venue. As she walked toward her chair, spectators followed her every movement. The noise around the court faded. The anticipation grew stronger. Across the net stood Valentina Reiser, the opponent who had defeated her months earlier. The Swiss player represented a challenge that could not be overlooked. Eala placed her bag down carefully and took her seat. For a few moments she remained silent. Then she looked across the court. There was no smile. No dramatic expression. Just focus. The kind of focus possessed by an athlete who remembers exactly how a previous defeat felt and has spent months preparing for another opportunity. The umpire called time. Players rose from their chairs. The crowd settled into silence. And as Alex Eala stepped toward the baseline, everyone inside court 1 sensed that they were about to witness something special. As Alex Eala stepped behind the baseline and bounced the ball in preparation for the opening point, the atmosphere around court 1 felt electric. The anticipation that had been building all afternoon finally reached its peak. Across the net stood Valentina Reiser, the Swiss player who had once disrupted Eala's momentum and handed her a painful defeat months earlier. But this version of Alex Eala looked different. There was a calmness in her eyes and a certainty in her movements that suggested she had arrived with a purpose far greater than simply winning another tennis match. The first serve of the afternoon immediately announced her intentions. The ball exploded from her racket and landed perfectly inside the service box, leaving Reiser with almost no chance to respond. It was a statement as much as it was a serve. The crowd reacted instantly. The energy shifted. From that moment forward, everyone watching could sense that Eala had brought her best tennis to Ilkley. Reiser attempted to settle into the match, relying on the consistency and resilience that had helped her earn victories throughout her career. She fought for every point and refused to give away free games. Yet Eala's intensity was relentless. Every rally seemed to end with the Filipina dictating the action. Her footwork on the grass was smooth and confident. Her forehand penetrated through the court. Her backhand remained solid under pressure. Most importantly, she appeared completely committed to every shot she hit. The opening games unfolded exactly the way Eala had hoped. She pressured Reiser's serve from the beginning and quickly earned break opportunities. Rather than hesitating in crucial moments, she attacked. The confidence gained from her Birmingham triumph was evident in every decision she made. She wasn't waiting for mistakes. She was creating opportunities. An early break of serve gave her control of the first set. From there, she never looked back. Each time Reiser attempted to establish momentum, Eala responded immediately. Powerful serves were followed by aggressive returns. Defensive positions were transformed into attacking opportunities. The Swiss player found herself constantly under pressure, struggling to find answers against an opponent performing at an exceptionally high level. The crowd became increasingly engaged as the set progressed. Philippine flags waved proudly throughout the stands. Every winner from Eala generated louder applause. Every successful service game strengthened the belief that they were witnessing one of her most complete performances of the season. By the midpoint of the opening set, Reiser appeared visibly frustrated. She had experienced success against Eala before, but this match felt entirely different. The weaknesses she had exploited months earlier seemed to have disappeared. The hesitation that occasionally crept into Eala's game was nowhere to be found. In its place stood a player who looked stronger, faster, and more confident than ever. The first set ended quickly and decisively. Eala claimed it by a score of 6-1. The result reflected the dominance spectators had witnessed. She had controlled nearly every aspect of the match. Her serve was firing with precision. Her return game was aggressive. Her movement across the grass looked effortless. Most importantly, she appeared mentally locked in from the very first point. As the players sat down during the changeover, many observers began to realize they were watching something more than a routine victory. This was not merely a top seed defeating a lower-ranked opponent. It felt like a player announcing her arrival as a genuine force during the grass court season. Still, Reiser was not prepared to surrender. The second set began with renewed determination from the Swiss player. She held serve early and attempted to raise her level. For a brief period, the contest became more competitive. The rallies grew longer. The points became tighter. Reiser fought harder for every game, hoping to create an opening that could shift momentum in her favor. For a few moments, it appeared possible. But Eala had no intention of allowing the match to become complicated. Whenever Reiser threatened to gain confidence, Eala responded with another impressive display of shot-making. A perfectly placed serve, a deep return, a forehand winner struck with authority. Time after time, she delivered exactly what was needed. The pressure slowly began to build on the Swiss player once again. A crucial break of serve changed everything. Suddenly Eala was ahead. Then she extended the lead. The confidence that had carried her through Birmingham continued to shine through every point she played. There was no panic, no frustration, no emotional swings. She simply continued executing her game plan with remarkable discipline. The crowd could sense the finish line approaching. Each successful point brought louder cheers from the growing contingent of Filipino supporters. Their chants echoed around Court 1. The atmosphere felt less like a small tournament match and more like a major championship encounter. As Eala prepared to serve for the match, the excitement inside the venue became impossible to ignore. The journey from disappointment to redemption was nearly complete. Months earlier she had walked away from her defeat against Reiser knowing she could have performed better. That memory had remained with her. It had fueled training sessions. It had inspired improvements. It had strengthened her determination. Now she stood only a few points away from completing her revenge. The final game perfectly captured the confidence she had displayed all afternoon. A powerful serve. A commanding rally. Another aggressive point won on her terms. Reiser continued fighting, but the outcome felt inevitable. Then came match point. The crowd rose in anticipation. Eala bounced the ball calmly and looked toward the opposite service box. There was no sign of nerves. No indication that the moment felt too big. Instead, she looked exactly as she had when she first walked onto the court, confident, composed, and completely in control. She delivered one final serve. The ball flew through the air with precision and pace. Moments later, the match was over. Alex Eala had defeated Valentina Reiser in straight sets, 6-1, 6-2. The revenge was complete. The statement had been made. As applause filled the venue, Eala raised her fist in acknowledgement of the crowd. It wasn't a wild celebration. It wasn't emotional or dramatic. It was the reaction of a player who expected excellence from herself and had delivered exactly that. The Philippine flags waved proudly around Court 1. Fans cheered. Spectators applauded. And while the victory itself was impressive, many people continued talking about something else entirely. The way she had walked onto the court. The confidence. The presence. The feeling that a young star had crossed an invisible line and emerged as something greater. A champion who no longer hoped she belonged at the top level of the sport. A champion who knew she did.